everyone, and welcome to Soul GPS, where we learn to take our lives back in our hands after narcissistic abuse. In this video, I wanted to discuss, kind of pull together several questions that have come into my mailbox, and they deal with the new supply of the narcissist. What's going on after they move on? What are they thinking? You know, what's going on in their head? Are they thinking about us? Do they miss us? It kind of ties in with the hoovering topic. So I'm going to try to break it down for you in as much detail as I can without making this too drawn out, and so that you have a pretty good scope of the topic. So first of all, the narcissist, this is really important to understand, does not like to be alone. I would go as far as to say that they cannot be alone. The narcissists that I've known in my life, and there were a lot, very many, I've had many interactions with them throughout my whole life. I seem to be a bit of a magnet, or seem to have been prior to having gained knowledge to know how to recognize them and deal with them and how to set boundaries. One of the things I've noticed is that they were always, they love being in the center of attention. They have the gift of gab, as the Irish say. They love to talk. They talk. They are very good at hypnotizing people with their talks, with their stories. They're very good at painting pictures. Wherever they are, there's a lot going on. And even if they're the more somatic narcissist that maybe is not as intellectual, they still want to be flashy. They like to be in a center of attention. The more intellectual narcissist will want to really shine with their intellect, with their knowledge, and show off in that way. The vulnerable narcissist is going to drawn to them sympathy, and they will be there talking about all sorts of stories about, you know, how they've been hurt and this and that. And actually what's really interesting about these form of narcissists, which I'm very familiar with those, I've known many, is that notice how they have this uncanny way of switching between being really like bubbly and sort of excited and to kind of get your attention on them. And then once they have you, they kind of start dropping in and talking about, you know, how these people in their past, they've just been so horrible to them, and their exes just have devastating them, and they've had bosses from hell, and you know, it's like story after story after story. And initially what they like to do is when they share, they do that also so that you share too. So it's kind of getting those mirror neurons to happen. You know, it's like they have a sad face, they are telling you a story, then you kind of pick up the sad face too, because this is how we connect, this is how we relate. And people who have empathy, people who have conscience, you know, people who are kind, basically, will really be there and will want to understand and help out. So the mirror neurons start to turn on, and then before you know it, you begin to share too, and you tell them, you know, this happened to me as well, and they're kind of taking note and learning about, you know, what it is that you're telling them, and then eventually going to use it all against you. So to stay on topic, the narcissists do not know how to be alone. They do not like it. They do not want it. So when they leave, whether you have left them or they have left you, so after the split occurs between you and them, what tends to happen is that they are immediately on the lookout for someone else. And it is extremely, and I mean extremely likely, that because they have already recognized that they have this pattern of, you know, relationships don't last for them, for many of them, for some do. For those who have long relationships, I think what they're more aware of is that their relationships kind of go through this up and down cycle. So they know that there's always like this, there's this risk. They're on the verge of losing their partner. So they keep pushing them. They keep pushing them to the edge of, to test their boundaries, to see how much they can get away with. And it's kind of a play for them, you know, they're enjoying this. It's sadistic way of dealing with others and with no regard for their feelings. And so they're always in the back of their mind, on the hunt, on the lookout for, okay, when I lose A, B, or C, I'm going to have D and F sort of waiting in a pipeline. So what happens oftentimes, and you know, this is not to make you feel hurt or disappointed or dejected. You already should be absolutely furious and pissed and have enough of a wit about what had happened to you, at least on the intellectual level, because it takes a while for the emotions to really catch up with what has happened to you. So, but at least to know this in your mind, that what has been done to you is something that they have done on purpose. It wasn't that it was accidental. It wasn't that, you know, they didn't mean it. If they didn't mean it, they have had millions of opportunities to have made good, which they never do, because they keep sliding back into this irresponsible way of living because they like it. You know, it's easier. It's so much easier to live a parasitic existence than to, you know, be a person of morality and integrity. You know, that takes building a character, and it's hard work for them. So they're going to be looking to very quickly find someone else to fill in that void. In the meantime, especially if you were the person who left, they are harboring a tremendous amount of hate towards you because you have abandoned them, you have left them. How dare you? How dare you have done that to them? And of course, they rarely do it because to them it's too costly to lose a source of supply. Once they have that person, they'd rather hold on and just have more on the sidelines, you know, other places, than to lose. That's why it is often us. It's often the target, the victim, who needs to take that step and leave. So once you do know this, they're absolutely enraged with you. They hate you. They want to destroy you. Like if they wanted to destroy you before, now they want to destroy you 10 times that much. So knowing you, knowing how you are, they're going to devise a strategy, a plan, to try to get you back. So that's when the hoovering begins. So know one thing is that it's never a good idea to respond to hoover for many reasons. One of the reasons that we often talk about here is the fact that, you know, it feels toxic to you to have that re-traumatization through contact, whether you're just seeing their name pop up on your phone screen, you know, or whether it is an actual exchange. It is just not conducive to your healing. If you have made some steps forward in your process of healing, then contact will always make you tumble back, and you know, the obsession will begin again, and the trauma bond will come back. So you're going to have to kind of like do it all over again to get yourself back to where you were before. So it's just not worth it. But then there's another side of this that we often do not mention too much in videos on hoovering. There's just so much to cover, and that is what the narcissist is thinking when they're hoovering you. They're thinking revenge, 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 revenge. Seek and destroy, seek and destroy, seek and destroy. So they would tell you everything you want to hear. They're master hypnotists. They are the talk and the action do not match. It doesn't matter. You know, they will tell you one thing, but they're going to do another thing. They tell you things only to lure you in, only to seduce you, only to make you do things that they want you to do, to put you in your place where they can control you. So speech is just one of the many tools that they use. They use many different tools. Sex is another one, you know, big one for the narcissist. You know, another one is just the way they present themselves. Another one could be the way they make you feel. Another one is the fake sense of protection that they create. The reason why I say it's a fake sense of protection is because what narcissists often do, maybe even not often, but always do, in my case it always has happened with every single one of them, is that once you kind of settle in this kind of somewhat comfortable space where you kind of know you're with each other, and it doesn't usually last very long. It's kind of like this tipping scale. They will love bomb, love bomb, love bomb. It's like they give you attention, 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 and then very quickly just goes the other way, where you're the one begging for attention or you're the one giving of yourself when they start to devalue you. So that love bombing devalue stage is like the switch happens like overnight oftentimes. So what they do is they create this fake sense of protection where they will create a crisis or drama or upset you, and then on the other hand be the savior. And that's one of the sources of cognitive dissonance that really settles in with us when we try to figure out, are they good, are they bad? Like, what's going on? Because they can be both. They're both. They know how to get you to trust them, how to get you to trust them even more than you trust yourself. But at the same time, they're going to do the other thing, which is they're going to hurt you. So they're going to hurt you, and then they're going to make you trust them again. And it's like, it's going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until you feel like you're going absolutely insane, you're exhausted from this, and so on. Okay, so back on point. So they cannot be alone. In fact, I think you can test some people with respect to their narcissistic proclivities and tendencies. This is a difficult test. I'm just going to put it out there. I'm not doing this to make you actually do it, because this is a really hard thing to test. If you know that somebody is a narcissist, just leave, just go somewhere else and take care of yourself and do something nice for yourself and seek out other people to spend time with, because it never ends well. It never ends well. So that's my advice number one. But one way that you can discern whether somebody is a narcissist or has those tendencies, again, it's a continuum spectrum, some are milder, some are more intense, is, do they have the ability to self-reflect? Do they have the ability to actually spend time alone? Or do they always have to be surrounded by people? Are they always seeking noise and drama? Now, I have actually someone in my life, actually no longer in my life, but someone who used to be in my life very, very often, who just could not, for the life of them, spend an hour in silence alone. They just couldn't. There always had to be noise. There always had to be other people, because I think that the reason why, I am not a narcissist, so it's very difficult for me to actually look inside their head, but I made a video about the dark and shallow mind of a narcissist you might want to check out, where I go a little bit deeper into the subject. But at least of one type of a narcissist, because they're actually, I think there are several different types, several different ways that a narcissist can be made. This is the main one that is shame-based, where you have a rotten core and you create this glaze over it, where they begin to act out of this fake persona, and this fake persona is so important to them for their survival that whenever it gets threatened, they will just lash out, and they will, they fight to the death in order to protect it. So I think that's the main reason why they can't spend time with themselves, is because they're either very vacant within, or they don't want to look at it because it's just ain't pretty. And the moment that the noise stops, the music stops, and stuff starts to bubble up to the surface, which is why spiritual development, meditation, things like that are so difficult for most of us, is because first thing that happens once we quiet down is stuff bubbles up and we have to face our shit, right? So there's a lot to deal with, and there's so much, there's so much to process. It's all processable, it's all processable, and you can get through it all. It's totally possible, and there are great techniques to doing so, and I encourage you to look into that, because it's just such a great thing for all self-actualization, self-evolution, because most of the stuff is not even ours anyway. It's just stuff we pick up, we pick up. It's like what we take in is what we put out. If you want to change your life, you got to change the things you're exposing yourself to, including the narcissist. If you don't want to live a life that is miserable, don't expose yourself to miserable information, miserable people, miserable food, miserable habits. Change that, change the input, you're going to have a much better output. That's kind of how it works. So anyway, so this is a form of a test, maybe not so much to do directly, but you can kind of in your mind scan through your circle of friends, perhaps your family, and think of the ones who just are always in demand of activity, always in demand of other people, of distraction, because they can't sit with themselves. There will be people who just, it can be also a result of neurosis, it's not always black and white, but it's just an indicator. of what they do and who they are. So they can't be alone. So they're looking for another supply. They absolutely hate you after you have left them because you have dared to hurt them. You have caused what's called narcissistic injury. So I just want to say also here one more word about solitude. Oh, this video is going long. It's going to be just a 9-minute video, but not even halfway through my notes. I want to say something about solitude, that solitude is strength. So many of you write to me and ask about this. And let me tell you, I'm speaking from experience because I have been through it. I still go through it often. I am right now traveling. I'm away from home. I really don't have a home. I'm looking for a home. I don't know where I'm going to settle down. But I gave myself some time, few months, a year, maybe 2, to just go different places I've always wanted to go to. Now that I'm free and unbound, I don't have a relationship. You know, I don't. I work from my computer. So and I'm a minimalist. My expenses are super tiny. And I don't have many things, so that's what I do. So the reason why I say this is because I have a lot of time to contemplate, and my friends are obviously not where I am because I'm visiting different countries. And yes, I have been meeting some really wonderful people. So I want to say to you, all of you people out there who are feeling lonely and you feel like you might not be able to connect with people in the future because of what you have gone through, it's absolutely not true. There are wonderful people out there and you will meet them and they will show up on your path. But like what had happened to me is, as long as I was dwelling in my own disintegration I needed to heal myself, because as long as I was kind of broken inside after what had happened to me, and also from all the way from my childhood, because I did not grow up as a whole person. I was always criticized. I always felt like there were things that were really wrong with me. So I needed to put myself back together. And I feel like I am maybe not fully 100% there yet, but I'm so much closer that I'm starting to notice a completely different caliber of people that are showing up in my life and on my path, who are really wonderful and who have gone through a lot of pain too. And it's a very different dynamic. But I see that had I met them a year ago, I would have not even noticed them, because I was so into I loved the narcissists, they were so attractive to me because there was always so much going on, and I felt like they had something that I didn't. So by being with them, I was gaining something external without really spending enough time to figure out what it is that I was looking for within myself, which was really the lost part of myself that I had lost in my childhood. And so now I'm learning to reclaim. And as I'm reclaiming this part of myself, this polar opposite, so to speak, of the persona that I've been putting out into the world, I am more and more feeling complete. So as a result, meeting other complete people or recognizing other complete people is much easier, because now I know who I'm looking for, if that makes sense. It's a different kind of resonance. So I'm still in the early stages of that, but I just want to tell you guys out there that don't give up on love. There is hope and there are wonderful people out there, but we need to first bring ourselves to the level within ourselves where we don't suffer from loneliness anymore, because we have found ourselves. We have learned to really connect with ourselves. And the more we connect with ourselves, the deeper we connect with ourselves, the deeper we'll be able to connect with other people. And the more other people will want to connect with us, because they will realize the depth of the possibility for intimacy, if that makes sense. So just want to put it out there as something to look forward to in the future. Now, meanwhile, the narcissist can't really be alone. They have no ability to really self-reflect, whereas we do. And I think it's very good for us to really grow that ability. So if you do find yourself right now kind of being lonely, and just take a deep breath and realize this, is that if you feel lonely inside, it's because there's something within you that is not really connecting. Because there are people out there, if you really wanted to be with people, it's not very difficult. You can go to a meetup group like Dana from Thrive After Abuse. She often advises, join meetup, go do board games, or join a fitness club, or do something. But you notice that it's not really about that, because you can be in the company of other people, but you can still feel lonely, right? What is that? Where does that come from? So you got to pull on that thread and try to get to the root of that. And that usually comes from the first splintering of yourself with yourself that occurs in childhood by just not really good parenting, which unfortunately is pervasive. And not to blame the parents, and but also not to, you know, let them off the hook, but they probably had the same thing happen to them, and they had the same thing happen to them, and ultimately it's the fault of our system, as I always tie the micro with the macro together. Oh my god, this is a 20-minute video already. I haven't made a video in like I think 10 days, so I have so much I want to share. But anyway, so that's ultimately how it ties. So I'm gonna spend some more time and making more videos about to show you how the micro, which is the split within, mirrors out and projects into our relationships. So we basically repeat the same patterns, like the same fractal on multiple scales, and it comes from the outside in. That's how we first get exposed to it, because when we're born, although there is a very small percentage of people, I believe, that are born in a way that they're already split inside. And I don't mean schizophrenia, I just mean that they're disconnected and they just, I don't know if it's what it is, if it's genetic or what. I have some theories and I'll make a video about that, but not in this one. Anyway, very small percentage. Majority of people, when a child is born, they are whole. They're one being. And then, but they're kind of tabula rasa, like they say. They're kind of an empty, their mind is like an empty canvas. I don't think it's completely empty. I think there is information, there's data already encoded in that budding personality, but more or less there's a lot of room. There's just, you can fill it up with so much information. And the first source of information that is directed towards a baby, towards a child, comes from the parents, especially from the mother, especially as they are breastfeeding the baby, right? And you have the mother is looking into the eyes of the child, and the child is seeing its own reflection in the eyes of the mother. That's why this bond is so incredibly important. And lately I have been reading about some very interesting research that's coming out about the calamitous effects of the fact that there are many mothers who are breastfeeding their babies while they're looking at their phones, checking their email. Anyway, so yet another story. And then you have a child that is getting indoctrinated into the system that has schisms, multiple schisms built into it already, whether it is, you know, between races, whether it is between the haves and the not haves, whether it is between the old and the young, whether it is the man and the female. It's all splits, all splitting, duality. So they're indoctrinated into that. And on top of it, you know, if they don't get adequate parenting, which is really difficult to do a really good job with a child. I gotta say, it's not an easy thing, but one of the most important things that I think parent can do is to take care that the child is raised as a one whole being, and it's not putting the child down in order to create that inner split where they feel like there's something wrong with them, like they're somehow inadequate, like they're somehow broken, and that happens a lot, unfortunately. It happens through neglect, it happens through just abuse, and there are levels of abuse, from, you know, just snide comments that a sensitive child picks up and then thinks about for the rest of their life. It plants a seed, all the way to such horrific types of childhood abuse that I don't even want to get into, because it's just, when I think of it, it just breaks my heart as to what goes on in our world, what happens to our children. So in any case, where was I? So loneliness. So we need to heal that inner schism first. And so when you have been through this narcissistic abuse, this is your opportunity, because really you're left without no other choice. It's like you're forced to do this. And this is a blessing. I know it sounds like it isn't, but let me tell you, if this thing didn't happen to me, I would never go as deep as I did and really find myself and heal myself and save myself and create this friendship inside between my inner child and the adult me, create this beautiful dialogue where now I can draw resources and energy from me as a child, and the child can draw resources from me as an adult, and we can just have fun and play together even when no one's around. It is such a massive advantage to have that. So I encourage you to really use this opportunity while you're in the healing process to really go within and find yourself, because it's a noble thing. So the narcissist can't do it, but you can. So go all the way. Go all the way until you can't go any further. You'll know when you have reached that point where you have reintegrated yourself. And this also, of course, happens through, variety of things, going within and also going without, and seeking knowledge, reading about this, reading books about it, really, really helps. So what else happens? This was supposed to be on New Supply. I'm covering so many topics, but I hope this is helpful for you. So they look for supply immediately, or dip into their pipe drive, right? So they're always on the prowl, even when they were with you, they were on the prowl because they knew that sooner or later this is going to happen. You're going to catch up to their antics because everyone always had. So they kind of know in the back of their mind, it's just a matter of time before they push you a little bit too far over the edge and lose you. And also, really important thing is that they're just incredibly bored. They're always looking for that stimulation, for the dopamine kick. I personally know of someone who has had a fairy tale wedding, fairy tale romance, just beautiful, beautiful. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. What an amazing couple, and then within a month, one of the narcissistic partner was already on the prowl looking for a lover. And I was like, gotta be kidding me. So, so that's something to keep in mind. Narcissistic injury, remember this, you have done that. You have caused tremendous injury if you have left. So if you do come back, if you do allow them to seduce you back in, prepare to be beat down, prepare to be punished severely, because they need to put that ego to rest. They will never forget this. Their ego will never forget the fact that you have hurt them, most likely for the rest of their life. As they're, going to be on their deathbed, they'll be thinking about, that person, I got to get them in the next life. No, I'm kidding. I don't know if they're thinking that, but so avoid it, avoid any more exposure. Once you know that these people, who they are, just close the door, shut it, lock it, put concrete over it, lead reinforcements. Do not open that door ever, ever, ever again. And I want to mention one last thing here before I wrap up, and that is, I got a question in one of my videos about narcissistic relationship. When they leave the empath, they leave the codependent, or just a healthy person who just unfortunately got drawn into this dynamic and got destroyed in the process, which also happens. And then they watch the narcissist get together with another narcissist, and they seem so happy, and it's just going so well for them. Like, what the hell, what happens inside? So I have had a chance on many occasions to witness, mostly from my childhood, now looking back at the couples that I have been exposed to. They have been either like psychopath with a narcissist, many NPDs and BPDs, ton. I was surrounded by NPD, BPD couples. So what happens? So with a narcissist and BPD, I think what happens is there is a bit of an uneven dynamic, because the narcissist kind of stays more on the superior side and they're the bully, whereas the BPD plays the victim. But then them being victimized, they're going to also attack the NPD, back for what's been done to them. So they kind of go back and forth, and they just kind of keep going at it. And it's this vicious cycle of power. And a lot of the time, the reason, as they go through their shit show, they love to involve other people, the bystanders. Especially the borderline is going to be saying things like, look what they're doing to me, look how poor and miserable I am. And whenever they would get the advice to, just leave, just leave them and don't put up with it anymore, they don't want to do it. They refuse to do it because they're kind of addicted, like their identity is deeply vested in the abuse. And then they also are getting a kick out of it because they're the abusers as well. So they're getting abused and they're abusing. So it's that. It's really sick. It's really bad. Now, what I think I find really interesting is when you have two NPD characters Now, this is my supposition, this is from research, this is from observation. So I don't claim that I, have an insight that is as deep as actually being one of them, or, understanding them really intimately. And I would never even want to anyway. But I have had a chance to observe some of those dynamics. And I find that the way they bicker with each other and battle with each other is very subtle, because they have a lot of pride and they don't want to be unmasked. They don't want the outside to see what they're doing. So they're going to do these very light and kind of like putting these needles into each other's hearts and into each other's stomachs and wherever, everywhere, and just like dagger each other up. And they're gonna do it with keeping a smile on their face. And it's really sadistic how that happens. I have never witnessed two NPDs having an argument, so I don't know what that would look like. I would think it would be probably pretty violent, or I don't know, or I don't know. I can't. If somebody knows, please send me a message or leave a comment below, because I'd be very interested. But I have seen at most of the narcissistic or sociopathic, especially, arguments, power dynamics I have seen were in the corporate workforce. Actually, there's a lot of this kind of banter that goes on in the boardroom, where it's all about who's more powerful and so on, and it can go on for hours. And it's like constantly, like, you can feel it, like one person rises to the top and they have that moment of pride where they feel like they just like they got it, they're taking in the victory, and then something else comes up and they just get jabbed and another person rises, and it's like, it just goes up and can go on like this for hours. It's really disturbing and really draining. And it's one of the reasons why I just absolutely had to leave the corporate workforce and that whole environment, is because that was happening like all the time. You had to be always on your toes and know what to say and be really quick on your feet, because otherwise it'd be destroyed. So very unhealthy environment. I'm going to make a video about, I got some requests about work and sociopathic bosses and all that. I can definitely speak to that. I have encountered many of them in my life. So we'll do that. So in any case, bottom line of this video, my goodness, 32 minutes. Bottom line of this video is this. The only reason why they would think about you, the narcissist, after you have dumped them, is because they are seeking revenge and they hate your guts. Simple, bottom line. Do not go back. No matter what happens, how much you're twisting inside, this is the toxicity that's trying to leave you. These are your organs literally squeezing the toxins out to purify you. Instead, go drink some some delicious water, go on a walk and do some journaling. That is so much better for you than even entertaining the prospect of sending them a text message. Just don't do it. There's not a single instance where going back to a narcissist, or any abuser for that matter, after they have done something really terrible to you that motivated you in the first place to leave, that it was healthy. It's just it never happens. If it happened to anyone, if there's a success story out there, let me know, because I've never heard of one. And so that whole world, that whole realm of these narcissistic personalities, the people who really create relationships of one, they're unable to connect because they're not connected with themselves. It's so different from what is possible that you can create if you just follow yourself within. If you follow the inner compass to take you to the next stage of your life, the realm you'll find yourself in will be so vastly different that it's kind of like you have these two bowls that have a boundary around them that they can never meet, they can never cross. So leave that behind as much as you can. Focus on yourself instead, because you have a life to live, and we all have limited time on our planet. Why waste it thinking about the person who wants to destroy you? Instead, focus on yourself, focus on your self-healing, focus on your integration inside, so that you can resurrect all these pieces of yourself, find your true innate joy let that then come out and cascade out of you. Come into the life as a fresh, free, sovereign human being. Drop all the chains and then see who else has made it to the mountain and enjoy the view. I'm sending you guys lots of love. Thank you for watching. I'm sorry about running so long on this video. I hope it helped you. And I will see you in another one. Cheers. Bye.